WWE 2K26 has finally arrived, so you know I had to show you the best universe mode setup to have the most fun. Let's go ahead and hop into it. So for weekly shows, I personally don't run NXT. I'm not going to help you out with that, unfortunately. It's just not my thing. But for our main shows, Raw and SmackDown, go ahead and edit them. There's two changes you want to make for both of them. First being the number of matches. I put it as 6. It's the most realistic to real life WWE. Along with that, unfortunately, promos once again did not get tuned. There's an underwhelming amount. You'll typically get 1 promo in most cases per week. Sometimes you unfortunately get 0. If you're lucky, you'll get 2. So overall, it is the best and most realistic number of match types at 6. Then for your match table, I edited mine. It's not perfect, but what I like is keeping a lot of this the same, but I do add in backstage brawls because they do happen in real life WWE. Along with that, I changed the 6 superstar tag to just a normal tag, not it's like an Extreme Rules one or whatever. And I keep that low chance, only 1. And then also I do add a one-on-one Extreme Rules chance at 2% as well, just because you will occasionally see them, especially sometimes in the main event, to really hype up a big weekly show. So I do this for Raw and SmackDown. If you want to make SmackDown different, you can change this from Extreme Rules to like a steel cage, just to make it a little bit different. You know, you can do that sort of thing, but for me personally, I use these for both Raw and SmackDown. Okay, now we got to make some pretty big changes. First, you want to go over to our participants. If you head over, you will eventually see on SmackDown, LA Knight is listed on SmackDown. That slipped through the cracks, so you want to put him on Raw and take him off of SmackDown. That is the only change right now outside of AJ Lee. You have to unlock her within Showcase, so once you do that, then go add her to Raw as well. Then over to the champions. So it's a bit outdated. I already changed Penta to be the new IC champion. Then you have a couple issues here. Obviously, we already talked about AJ Lee. You need to unlock AJ Lee. So right now, Becky Lynch will be the women's IC champion. Once you unlock AJ Lee, go ahead and change that. Then the women's tag side, Nia and Lash Legend are obviously now the tag champs. They are not a tag team in the base game, so you have to go ahead and create that tag team first before you can assign them the tag team belts. So now, heading over to the divisions, we have to make some changes here. Base game, Rey Mysterio is a world title contender. I make him to the IC division. And also in the tag, the base game has Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. In the tag division, I put them both in the world. You could put Bronson Reed in the IC division, but realistically, he's a world title contender. They've hyped up beating Roman Reigns, so it doesn't really make sense, but at the same time, it doesn't totally make sense to have them both be fighting for the world title. That's just one thing to look out for. Then in the women's, Zoe Stark and Natalya are both under the world title scene. Personally, for me, I would put them both in the IC division, and I'd move Lyra Valkyria, or actually, her and Bayley should probably be a tag team right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, so if you want Lyra and Bayley as single stars, put them in the world title scene, but you should probably make them a tag team. Okay, now heading over to one more thing. Back to participants, actually, is one thing I forgot. There's superstars you do have to remove. So currently, AJ Styles, a lot of people probably want to keep him, but he's now off WWE, so if you want to remove him as well. Ludwig Kaiser is currently listed on the roster. You can remove him. Omos, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne are also on the Raw roster, so go ahead and remove those 5 superstars. With that, we're going to go ahead and look over SmackDown because there are some changes, not as many changes. Once again, number of matches 6. Use the same match table I showed before. But now, heading over here, currently you have Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy as the tag team champions, but in reality, it is now the MFTs. And besides that, once again, you have to change the women's tag champs, make Nia and Lash a tag team, and there you go. And from there, that should be perfect. Now over to the divisions. So right now, Uncle Hattie and Solo Sikoa are both in the WWE title scene. I move them personally over to the US Championship. Then you also have listed here Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the US title contenders. I personally move them both over to the WWE title. Obviously, Kevin Owens is still injured, so if you want to remove him, you can remove him. I personally keep him on for my personal universe mode, just really to have him be there and really make the roster more in-depth. Also, in the tag division, you do have Kit Wilson and Ellen Prince there. Ellen Prince is hurt, so you could move Kit Wilson to the US title scene to have him have a little solo run, or you can keep it as is. Over here to the women's section, you have Michin here. I keep Michin here personally, just because she has been beefing with Jade Cargill. But Nikki Cross, I moved to the women's US Championship section. And then obviously, Lash Legends here, and then Nia Jax is somewhere. Make them that tag team so you can give them those tag team title belts. And with that, we're going to go ahead back up to participants because there are some changes. And the only one really being is Tommaso Ciampa is still, in the game, obviously, but he's not in the WWE in real life. So you can remove him and delete DIY as a tag team. And just like that, Raw and SmackDown are both set up perfectly to go ahead and start Universe Mode. Moving on to PLEs now, we'll go ahead and take a look at these. So Saturday's main events, I always change these down to 6. And honestly, I change every PLE except for WrestleMania down to 6. WrestleMania itself gets 7. The reason for that being, it's 7 per night. So that'll be 14 total matches. For SummerSlam, it's also 6 as the other ones, because that would be 12 matches total. That's what makes the most sense for me. So when you edit these, you're going to leave, actually, the match tables all the same. Just go ahead and change all these down to 6. One issue with Royal Rumble currently is there is a glitch. It doesn't happen every year, but I've been simming year after year, testing everything. Occasionally, you will see the Women's Royal Rumble only be 10 superstars, so you'll have to manually change that once you get there. If it does happen, change to a 30 superstar and you should be fine. That's the only glitch I've seen so far. Besides that, match tables all look really good default. No glitches outside of that one issue with the Women's Royal Rumble only being 10 superstars occasionally. So besides that, you do have to make some changes. So Backlash is currently the second week of May. But then you see eventually Clash in Paris. Clash is originally later on in the year, but we're going to go ahead and put that as the first week of June, as it's really May 31st, but just to give you some space between that Backlash Saturday's main event, I think the first week of June makes it better. Night of Champions, I believe, is originally the end of June, but I put it at the beginning of July, once again, just to space things out. I keep these the same dates, same thing with SummerSlam, keep that where it is first week of August. Make sure it's 6 matches, so it'll be 12 total. Money in the Bank is moving to after SummerSlam this year, a little bit weird, but I put it as the first week of September, which I believe is in real life. WrestlePalooza, you do have to move that back, I believe. In game, it's like the second week of September. I move it to the 4th, once again, a spacing thing. Also, the date for this year, if it even does happen again, isn't even confirmed. Crown Jewel, once again, a spacing thing. I do move it back. I believe it is the second week of October in base game. I move it to the 4th week. And then Survivor Series is automatically that 4th week, so you keep that there. King and Queen of the Ring is in game, this time not as its own PLE, but on Raw and SmackDown. I'm personally going to turn these off. Why? King and Queen of the Ring is supposed to be a match, or a tournament to set up a match for SummerSlam, but it's happening in December, and it doesn't make any sense. Obviously, you could move it up in between somewhere before SummerSlam, if you would like to. But honestly, for me, it takes up an entire show, so personally, I'm just not going to do it. But if you wanted to, I'd put it in right before August. So anytime in July would make the most sense for that. And with that, that is how you want to set up all of your PLEs for your Universe Mode. So once you're ready to go, the last thing you want to do is head over to the options, make some changes here. So if you're someone who wants to book every little detail of your Universe Mode, put automatic rivalries down to off. If you're someone who doesn't want to book anything and just wants to play the matches out and play the stories, make it 4. If you're someone who wants to do a bit of, booking, but not everything, I would still keep it 4. That way, less booking that you have to do. Injuries, I personally keep these off just because there is the injury rivalry action, but it doesn't actually work, at least in years past. Maybe it works this year, but not that I know of, so I just keep it off so you don't even have that come up. In the cash-ins, I personally keep announced cash-in to 0, mid-match put down to 1, post-match to 1. Obviously, in-game when you're playing with a champion, you have the ability to have the button click to be able to have your Money in the Bank holder cash in game. So this, I believe, is more so for the game to choose rivalry action cash-in options, but obviously you have the other option in-game. Presentation, I leave as is. Matchmaking, this is what you want to change. I've mentioned it before, I've simmed years to really test these out. There's no perfect solution, but for match type bonus, this is for non-normal matches or submission matches. I bump up to 140, because more often than not, when there's like an Extreme Rules match on a Raw or SmackDown, you're gonna get it as the main event. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And also highest overall bonus, I bumped up to 200, and I bump lowest overall bonus down to 70. That way you're getting your bigger superstars in the, big opening match in the main event match. Then over to championship bonuses, I make the world title bonus up to 180, because world titles should take precedent over the mid-card for getting those big-time match slots. I make men's and women's tag bonuses down to 80, just to make sure they're not overshadowing the world title. You could keep it at 100 so they're in line with your mid-card titles, but ultimately I kind of value my mid-card titles a little bit more than the tag division in some cases. Not all cases, but in most cases, I would say. That's why I do that. You can leave that 100 if you want. Also, if you want to keep it very realistic, let's be real, men's titles are valued more in the booking process over the women's. It is how it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that's how I do it. That's why I keep it 100, because I really don't care. if men or women main event. But if you want to make it realistic to how it is in real life, you could bump men to like 130, women to like 110. Just so there is that difference between the men and the women, and also keeping them ahead of the tag divisions. I don't touch intergender and Money in the Bank bonus. Money in the Bank bonus I have not seen matter in Sim. Intergender, I don't run intergender, so that's why I keep that as is. Then for the rivalry intensity, I keep it 100 for all of them, just because you don't want a situation where if you value like a high rivalry over a low rivalry, a situation where basically maybe a lower superstar, you know, rivalry has a high rivalry where maybe their high superstars has a low level rivalry. You don't want the lower tier superstars to get better match slots over your higher tier superstars just because of their rivalry intensity. That's why I just leave it as is. So that way, only stuff like this, the match night bonus overall, and, you know, the titles, championships on the line is what really factors into the match order. I think it gets a good mix. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. You know, it's a video game, but I think it makes the match card order that much better than the base game. And with that, that's going to wrap it up. That's how you set up the best possible universe mode for 2K26 launch. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.